no, because my butt's fine. And then your butt will be sore, and right now my butt's fine. If I have a happy butt, I'm good.
Everyone likes a happy butt.
Happy butt.
Or else you'll have to massage it.
It's okay.
Oh, poor
That's why
you.
we're here.
Sounds like a request. I know.
Let's talk about
Not painful.
remedies.
Okay, yes.
Remedies, yes.
Is that a page?
In your book,
Yes, sir. Yes, it is.
This is so fun.
if you open it up, you will see that you have 2 pages of remedies. You should be looking at pages, what's that, 8 and 9.
No.
Okay? These are the remedies that we will use pretty much all the time. There's about 200 remedies listed here. 99.9% of the time, you are going to find the remedies you need on these 2 pages. If the remedy you need isn't on these 2 pages, in the back of the book, you have a much longer list of remedies. There's about 1,500 remedies listed there. So you should be able to find it somewhere, either in the shorter list or the longer list.
Wow.
The official American Homeopathic Pharmacopoeia lists over 6,000 remedies.
Oh my goodness.
I'm sort of like, well, who cares? Who uses them? You know, I mean, we have this group, which, gosh, we've been using some of these remedies. You know, we have a really long history with some of these things, like arsenic and mercury and sulfur and so on and so forth. Some of our really wonderful poisons have been being used for a very long time. As is said in medicine, poisons tend to be therapeutically active. That's true. They really are. They are very active. You take a poison, you're going to get a response. Well, of course, you want to be able to give that poison in the appropriate dosage. You know, that, of course, is the secret. In homeopathy, remedies are used in just the smallest amount. It's sort of the theory of the smallest dose. What's the tiniest amount of a substance that we can give you and still get a therapeutic response? So we've taken some of these classic remedies and they get diluted to a remarkable degree. I don't know what the inspiration for Hahnemann, Samuel Hahnemann is the guy who created modern homeopathy for us. I don't know what his inspiration was to dilute the remedies. It's a very painstaking process where the original substance that he used was, it's called cinchona or china, and it's the bark of the cinchona tree. He noticed that the natives of South America used this for treating malaria. So he took cinchona bark and diluted it in an alcohol-water combination. So the dilution rate was 1 part bark to 10 parts water. And then take the substance and do this. It's called succussion, or in modern chemistry, scintillation. We're basically just smacking it. And you would do that 100 times. And the first dilution was times 10, so the Roman numeral X for 10. So the first dilution is called 1x, 1 times 10. Then you take 1 part of 1x and mix it with 10 parts of solution. And again, do the succussion. Now you have the dilution 2x, right? So you keep taking 1 part of that and diluting it times 10, and you just continue diluting it. The X potencies go from, well, 1x to 200. That's very common in homeopathy, particularly European homeopathy, where their belief system is all about using low potencies. There was a schism in homeopathy between the Europeans and the Americans. The Americans in the early 1900s started using higher potencies. And so you'll find that still present today. In Europe, they use very low potencies, the X potencies, and in America, we use much higher potencies. We're going to talk about those now. It's a different dilution rate. Instead of 1 to 10, the dilution rate is 1 to 100. So again, you have that 1C, which is the first one. You take one part of that and dilute it times 100, and you get 2C, and so on. And the C potencies go up to 1,000. And at 1,000, the potency becomes 1M, for M for 1,000. And if you look on the right-hand side of the page here, you can see that there's a listing of potencies. This list starts at 3C and continues up. You can see 1M there, which is what I just spoke about. And then the M potencies go from 1M to 10MM. So that's just a remarkable amount of dilution. One of the ways to think about the potencies is that the higher the potency, the farther back into that history you are reaching to treat the cause.
The higher
The higher the potency, the farther back you are reaching
Farther back
in that person's history.
in that person's history, even possibly into their DNA.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you're going back to the day they were born, to the things that they popped in with.
Got it.
And you'll see when we take a case that I test for the potency that the person wants, very typically they will test for the highest potency they're going to need the first time. And then from then on out, each time it will just continue to come down. And each time it typically will come down by about half. And so this list, as I say, here starts at 3C and goes up to 10 mm, and these are sort of regular increments that are measured out here, say 1M to 5M to 10 to 25. And those are very typical, and yet it could be any number in between there. Instead of being 25M that the person wants, they might want 22. Right? But with muscle testing, you can figure that out. This is rare, and yet it happens that an individual will want a higher potency than 10 mm. I've had it go much higher than that for some individuals. With muscle testing, we can figure that out. Okay? So that's how the range of potencies work. When I make a remedy, I do not make it at just a single potency. This is just about, well, it's virtually impossible to do in the classical method, where you do the dilution and the succussion and so on and so forth. We make these electronically. And so we can program it to make anything we want. Literally, anything we want. So, a low potency that's very typical is 30C. That's really common in homeopathy. You see a lot of remedies at 30C. I will test for this after I've established whatever the highest potency is. Let's say this person wants 50M. And then I will test for what's the bottom of the range that you want. And most of the time it will be 30C. So when I go to make the remedy, The remedy is all potencies 30C to 50M. All potencies. So between 30C and 50M, it could be 22.9 is the one they want. Okay? The wonderful thing about homeopathic remedies, just one of them, is that if you give the wrong remedy, nothing happens.
Yeah.
That's it. Nothing happens. You don't get any ill effects. You just don't get any good results either. Nothing happens. When you give a remedy that's in all potencies, 30C to 50M, the body will select which one of those potencies it needs right now. And as it changes, you're still in that range of 30 to 50, the body's still going to just continue to select the potency that it wants. So, that's how I make the remedies. We'll get into the specifics of how you guys can do that in a bit. So that's an idea of the potencies and how they work. Now, the remedies in classical homeopathy are typically only given one remedy at a time. There's a process of interviewing and taking notes that's called repertorizing. And when you repertorize, the interview process gives you from the individual what's called keynotes. And those keynotes are particular things that that individual has said that you recognize as being very significant. And so you write down that keynote.
That's what you do with the purple pen.
That's right. And different homeopaths will have different criteria. Some of them want to find 6 keynotes, some of them want to find 10, whatever. And then they will take those key phrases that the person has said and match them to a particular remedy. Because remedies have characteristics. We're going to talk about that in a moment. And then you match up which remedies that you match to the keynotes, which one's got the most votes. This one got 3, this one got 2, this one got 6. You know, which remedy got the most votes? And then that's the one you give them.
That sounds like tossing a coin.
It's a little better than tossing a coin. The accuracy is not great because there's so much judgment involved in it. First, the judgment of, well, I identify that as a keynote, where the person over here doesn't, right? And then I interpret that keynote to match this remedy. Well, someone else might not. They might disagree with that. Well, we don't have to do any of that. We can just muscle test and discover a person's constitution in 30 seconds, right? We don't have to go through that 19th century process. Okay? Yeah. Let me grab something.
Did you try it?
That's good.
Oh, you're massaging.
Well, Donna, thank you for volunteering.
I saw her hand go up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Come on, Brian. I'm getting up.
Yeah, come
I
on up
was
here.
perched. I'm unperching.
Better?
As the day goes on, I get older.
All right. And hold. Good. Let's try this. Strong. And nice. Okay, thank you. Perfect. All right. So, this is how you search for a remedy. All right. This girl's remedy is on page 1. is on page 2. Oh, it's gotta be on one of these. Put your feet on the ground, let's have some breath.
I'm
Do
I'm
you mean
thinking of a
page
joke.
8 or 9?
Huh?
Do you mean our page 8 or 9?
Yeah, page 8 or 9.
And you're calling them 1 or 2? Okay.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Got it.
it's. Oh, and oh, so, all right. So, this girl's constitutional remedy is on page 1. Yes, is in row 1. No, is in row 2. No, is in row 3. Yes. Begins with E or F. No, or G. No. Oh, H or I. No. J, okay. Yeah, look at J. K. Number 7. It's in row 4. You're being a little sneaky here. Begins with L. Begins with M.
I'm trying to give you a yes.
Okay, just,
Okay, maybe I'm trying to do
you're
this.
trying too hard there.
Okay,
Right,
I'm
really.
not trying
Let's
anymore.
try it again. Come back,
Okay.
roll 4. Good, good. L. L. So that was leaving that one. I guess it's leaving. Leaving 2. This girl's constitutional is Lillian Tig. Okay? So.
It-
Hmm?
Dr. Jeff stopped saying everything in front of me out loud because I'll do that. I'll try to give him a yes. And that's when he's seeing me, because he sees me very regular. He doesn't say anything out loud anymore, because he knows it's just like, yeah.
Yeah, I do most of the testing silently, I'm just running it through my head.
Right.
You know,
That's why it didn't work right now with us, because you figured out years ago, it's like you can't say anything out loud about it.
right, okay.
So I just want you to know that you'll get people like me.
Mhm.
It's like, I'm trying to give you a yes, it's like, shut up. You know, it's like, okay.
Okay, so see, that's how you go through the process to find the remedy, right? You just, through process of elimination, it's over here, it begins with L, begins with M, you know? And you'll find your own way that's comfortable for you. You know, I know this is page 8 and 9, but in my mind, page 1, page 2. You know, that's just,
Oh, gotcha.
that's how I think of them, okay?
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Can I
And-
see what you were doing?
Oh,
Because I was so into what I was
oh,
thinking too hard.
yes, I was asking whether it was on this page or this page.
Right.
And then we got the answer was on this page, so I asked if it was in this row.
Oh, got it.
And got yes, and then I went, it's an L, yes, it was an L.
Ah,
So then I just checked all the L ones.
got it. Okay.
So, let's see what we can find out about our friend Donna.
No. Yay. There's been
Cute
some
and feisty.
Oh, totally. There's been so well, yeah. Well, Dr. Jeff Mitchell is the one who, after 5 physicians sent my husband, who was a working deputy sheriff at the time, away with Dupuytren's on his hands and feet, solid. They said he needed to exercise and stretch out his hands and stop wearing flip-flops for his feet. They all said the same thing. And then I was seeing Jeff at the time for my stuff, and I mentioned it just to Dr. Jeff Mitchell, and he brought out the medical dictionary and says, "Is it this?" And then it was, and I took that diagnosis, and since then, with that diagnosis, I was able to go the line of physicians, and we only have an HMO, and I was able to get to the head of the research at UC Irvine, because FDA just approved a new treatment, whatnot. I was able to, with a diagnosis, you can go all the way through with Western medicine, because his Dupuytren's was so far gone that homeopathy couldn't bring it back. It's not gonna diffuse, you know. But we were looking to see if we could stop it. Retiring stop it. And so there you go. Just you know, because I know you guys all know you work with him. So there you go.
Okay. So, we have discovered that she is a Lilium tig, or Lilium tigrum, which is a flower. This is a very wonderful reference book. Douglas Gibson, Studies of Homeopathic Remedies. He writes about remedies very beautifully. Some people are awfully cryptic.
Right.
This fellow is quite good. So we look up Lillian Tigg, and it tells us the appearance is sometimes the patient appears listless and inert, yet can't sit still. There may be a wild look in the eyes.
Hello.
Here are some of the complaints that might show up. Inability to think, cannot read a book, indiscernible crazy feelings, hurried for no reason, must keep walking and walking and walking faster and faster, feverish desire to undertake tasks but is unable to carry them to completion, is averse from solitude, hypercritical, snappy, disposed to curse.
That sounds like everything everybody witnessed today.
Does this sound anything like you?
Maybe the page is blank and he's just describing.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
Thinks obscene thoughts, sexual excitement may be extreme.
Ooh, I like this.
Can we stop reading that? Keep going.
Bring
Where's
it.
my dentist?
Sympathy and interference is resented and is able to weep like a tap.
Wow. Okay.
Fear of entering into a conversation lest make appear stupid in speech. Fear of incurable disease, fear of alone, fear of becoming insane.
Oh, boy.
Any needs to say anything to you?
Every single word of it. That's exactly.
I want to be a poison. Are some people a poison?
Oh, sure.
Oh, cool.
Oh, absolutely. Some people are poisons. Yeah.
Cool.
Poisons and flowers and so on. And in homeopathy, you learn to see particular things. Like we talked about the miasms a little.
Mm-hmm.
We all know people who are too slow or too fast or twisted.
Some days we're all
Right?
of those.
Right, and some days we're all of those.
Right. He didn't
Right?
know he said twisted.
He did.
Yes.
Where's that
True.
me? Twisted.
And so our remedies are sourced from different places. There are plants and herbs. Some of them are roots, some of them are stalks, some of them are flowers. And then they come from animals as well. There are animal remedies. Snake is one of the more common ones, lachesis. You'll meet snake people. Very thin lips, and their tongue darts when they talk. And they won't wear a turtleneck. They won't wear anything that binds them.
Really?
Yeah, and that's part of their constitutional characteristics. As we were talking about your constitutional characteristics, the temperature that you like and the temperature that you like.
Mm-hmm.
We will find that whatever your constitutional remedies are, they're going to like the same conditions.
So now that we know we have Lillian Tigrum in the house, what does that do for you? You're the homeopath doctor and you've identified that because...
If I had gone through the process of repertorizing and figuring out that she was a tiger lily, well, then she would get her remedy. Now, depending on the way that I was taught to practice, one of the common ways is that I would give her 30C, and you would take that 3 times a day for a month, and then come back and then get a 60C or 100 or 200. So that it's called plussing, and you just keep adding the potency of the remedy. Now, the idea being, when you receive your constitutional remedy, it will strengthen you as an individual. It will strengthen your constitution, and anything that you need to repair, you now have the energy to repair. As it continues going up in potency, you will continue repairing more and more and more serious things. Okay? This methodology does work. Well, number one, as long as they've selected the right constitutional to begin with, which they get about 46% of the time they get it right. Not bad. I mean, Western medicine's only at 11% accurate.
Right.
So, they're ahead of the game. The dilemma with that methodology of treatment is that as you go along and your body's repairing various things, you're going to get aggravations. That part that you're working on repairing is going to become aggravated. In the way that I'm going to show you how to make remedies, you will include the constitutional remedy as part of the combination that they're going to receive. Okay? As we go through the list of all of the things that don't work, every one of those is going to get a remedy to match it. If this doesn't work, well then it gets a remedy, and it gets a remedy, and we get a specific remedy for this pathogen and a specific one for this. So there's a remedy for everything that has shown up as any kind of a problem, as well as the constitutional remedy. What happens in this method is that everything's being worked on at once. So there's not going to be an aggravation, because if a system has been challenged and is now healing itself, it has the remedy it needs to do that. It's not going to be aggravated. It's going to heal itself. Right? And it happens much more quickly this way. So you end up with a large combination remedy with, many of these in there. That's the way we're going to learn how to do it.
Cool.
Cool.
Very cool.
Very cool. All right.
Hey, can I ask a question?
Oh, of course.
I'm so sorry. Well, you said modern homeopathy, and you mentioned a gentleman's name who
Oh, well,
what,
okay. Okay, well, then we need to talk a little bit more about the history.
Right, please.
Allopathic and homeopathic remedies, or not remedies, but medicine, the ideas of those concepts have been present from the time of Hippocrates, from the time of Galen, which is really ancient Roman and Greek medicine. And a simple example would be if you were to go to Hippocrates with a fever, he'd most likely send you to the hot baths. The idea being, your body's creating a fever, you want to get hot for a reason, so let's help.
Oh, wow.
Okay? The idea being more of the same. Like cures like is the premise in homeopathy. A little bit more of what you got is going to cure you. Curing by similars.
Okay.
Allopathic medicine, on the other side, cures by contrast. If you go to an allopath and you have a fever, he's going to give you medicines to cool you down.
Allopath is a Western physician.
Is a Western physician, right?
What is it called?
Allopath.
Oh.
So that's the difference. One methodology treats by contrast, the other methodology treats by similars. These ideas have been present in medicine for a couple thousand years. Hahnemann was the first one to really formalize homeopathic treatment, to formalize the idea of more of the same. So he really created modern homeopathy.
Well, it just seems like the regular medical doctors can't say they don't cure anything, they treat. But it seems like these little homeopathic remedies seem to cure, and it's really hard to get anything cured from pharmaceuticals.
Well, that's not true by their definitions, and this has been true not just recently, but forever. In allopathic medicine, if the symptom disappears, that's called a cure. Okay? In holistic, homeopathic medicine, if all that happens is the symptom goes away, that's called suppression. So it's just different definitions. By their definition, you are cured. If you have cancer and you go through the regular protocols where you receive this treatment and then this treatment, and then for the next 3 years you take this drug, and for the next 7 years you take this drug, and then you die, you are called a cancer survivor. What that means is that you are dying on schedule. You made it through this part, now we're going to do this part, now we're going to do this part, and then you're going to die. It means you're dying on schedule. That's what being a cancer survivor means. And you're lucky if you survive those drugs, because again, they are treating by contrast. So there's something really gnarly going on in your body. So they have to make your body, which is the environment for this, this bug, they need to make that environment so toxic it kills it. Well, that environment happens to be me.
Right.
So yes, you are lucky if you survive cancer, if you survive treatment. It's really unbelievable. All right. We will talk more about remedies as we begin to make formulas. I spoke earlier about MS and Parkinson's. There's a remedy in here called gelsemium, which is another flower. And gelsemium is just remarkable for MS and Parkinson's.
What does it do?
Say again?
What does it do?
Just takes it out of the body. It just, and it does it really quickly. I've just been delighted with the response, particularly with the MS patients.
So if it's a Parkinson's patient and they've had it for
It takes
30
longer.
years.
It takes longer.
Yes.
Dementia too is also very treatable, and dementia is syphilis. It's syphilis affecting the brain.
How about schizophrenia?
It would have to be tested to see. That's quite likely syphilitic. Quite likely. Right. Let's see. The other thing on my list right here for today is about pregnancy. When women are pregnant, you mostly want to leave them alone. I mean, their bodies are operating perfectly. They're never operating better than when they are pregnant. So mostly you just want to leave them alone. These days, they recommend all of these prenatal this and prenatal that and blah, 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 and take this and so on and so forth. That's really a bad idea. We all know that mom is eating for two. The part we forget, mom is also eliminating for two. So if you're throwing a bunch of trash into mom's body that she doesn't need, you are now really overloading the kidneys and liver. They're already doing double duty. And now you just throw in this handful of trash, which is of no value, and now she has to eliminate that too. So that's really an extra stressor on the body. Let me grab something.
Like the prenatal?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd always forget to take mine.
Maybe your body made you forget that you didn't need it.
So you can of course use the muscle testing to determine what mom needs. What do you need? You can also use mom as a surrogate and test the fetus.
Oh, wow.
Hi Junior, what do you need? It was just about 3 weeks ago I had a pregnant lady here, and most of the time they don't need anything, most of the time, every once in a while. And so I was testing the fetus and kind of, oh yeah, oh that's interesting. The fetus would like some salmon.
Oh my God.
And really. And the mother just went, I had a taste for salmon. You know, just like that.
Wow.
Like, okay, well, go get it. So that's what I tell them, you know, just follow your intuition. Whatever your body wants, go and get it.
But like the regular remedies, when they're pregnant, they typically don't need them? Is that what you were talking about? Or?
I always test that. If we're in the process, I always test to see if it's in the highest and best good to continue or wait until the pregnancy is complete and then pick it up. And most of the time, it's just fine to continue with the remedies. Yeah. And you can continue to check in on Junior, you know, at any point to see if the development is 100% normal.
And if they're
That's
boy or
really
girl?
Yeah, you can test that. Yeah. I prefer not to, just let them be surprised, it's fine with me.
Really?
Well, I mean, unless they're demanding. I mean, I do work for them, so, you know.
What if they come in with a headache complaint, back
Or
pain complaint?
morning sickness?
Morning, right, what
Oh,
if
I
they come
had
in with
horrible morning
you know, they're in front of you, they have a complaint.
Yeah, well, then you treat that. And morning sickness is quite common. The most typical remedy for spitting up in general is ipecac. And so oftentimes they will test for wanting ipecac. The mothers that have had morning sickness, what's been really interesting about it is that they've all had it for a different reason. Like this one, you know, her thymus gland gets triggered and something happens, and this girl over here, her pancreas gets triggered, and this one, you know, they were all different reasons. There wasn't a single reason for them having their morning sickness. They were all different.
I remember my doctor saying, "Oh, you have morning sickness. That's a beautiful sign. I'm glad to see that."
That was it, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's
Just
not
that
helpful.
told him that it was a good pregnancy. That's what he was saying.
Hmm.
Yeah,
He
when was the last
said
time
he
was
would
pregnant?
he would get concerned when women showed no morning sickness, no nothing. That's when he would become alarmed.
Hmm.
I didn't have it.
Hmm.
And I had it both times, both kids.
Aw.
I had it too. And we weren't, well, this was 34 years ago.
Right.
I didn't even think to ask for anything. Just get,
I just dealt with it.
Well, some women are, you know, it can be really bad.
It was
You know,
horrible.
it can be incapacitating.
Wow.
You know, so you definitely want to be able to treat that, and it's very treatable. You just have to find out what the cause is. As I said, it's my experience. It's been a different cause for each woman. It hasn't been the same thing.
Where were you 21 years ago?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. And when the time of birth is drawing near, if there's any delays in that, a remedy that will promote birth is pulsatilla, which is a really classic
Pulse.
Pulsitilla, pulsatilla, amen, pulsatilla.
Labor?
And you would test for the potency, it would probably be something like 10M or 25M, and typically one dose, and boom, you'll get a baby. The other thing that will promote birth is on the back of the calf, just a little bit above the ankle, there's an acupuncture point. You know, I don't know if you ever heard you're not supposed to massage women's calf, pregnant women's calves. You can promote
Huh.
birth, so you can just rub right down here. That will promote it also.
I stay away.
Mm-hmm. You stay away?
I do.
You do? You know that one, huh?
I do. I
Yeah.
stay away. I say, and they go, well, no. No.
Okay,
No,
okay.
I'm not promoting anything.
Oftentimes during the pregnancy, it's a roller coaster ride for the woman. You know? What that is that this fetus is drawing the resources it needs from your body, which in many instances is the minerals. And so the mineral balance will get out. And you don't really want a mineral supplement. This is sort of that. Oh, you're the same one.
No, the calcium.
So should we have vitamins?
Yeah, that would have been nice.
Yeah.
These homeopathic remedies are called cell salts. They're very low potency minerals. One of them is called Cali Phos 6X is the potency, and the other one is called Calc Phos 6X. So these are both low potencies, and I will test the pregnant woman to see if she wants one of them or both of them, and it's usually like 2 tablets in the morning, 2 tablets in the evening, something like that. And what this does is it keeps that mineral balance so that you don't have this, right? Which is a nice effect.
I have a question for you. What do you think about autism?
About
Autism. Autism?
autism, I haven't had the opportunity to test anyone with autism, so I don't know. I have,
Seems like there's
experience.
so many kids being born now that are autistic or they're diagnosed autistic. And it's,
When I gave birth to Audrey, she's 9.5. When I gave birth to Dylan, he's 14. They didn't come in with any vaccinations for him right away. The very second day of being in the hospital after Audrey was born, they were like, "Here's her very first vaccination. Her doctor recommends." I'm like, "No, thank you." I'm wondering if that has anything
well,
to
that's
do
what
with
they
it.
say, vaccinations